Well, it's great to be back. Did you like our meditation song? Different. He's only a little chap. He looks a bit like Sonny Davis Jr. And he said to me, Reverend Livingston. I thought, oh, that's me. And he came up and he said, look, I enjoyed your talk. But funny enough, hearing to his music, I was saying a lot of the things that he was singing about. But at the end of it, he stood up and gave me a rousing clap. And I thought, this is amazing. What have I said? But listening to his music and speaking to him after, it's amazing. We're all at one. I said, I'm at Unity of Melbourne. He said, oh. And he said, I'd like to come out there one day. I said, well, knowing of course that when people say that, we usually have to pay their fare. I sort of thought, well, let's see what we can arrange sometime. And we were talking about the theatre scene. He'd been in Rent Boy, he'd been in Singing in the Rain, which is here, he'd been in Oklahoma, and some of those other musicals I've never even heard of, and just radiated with energy, zest and vigour. It was amazing. And he did a wonderful talk at night as well. It was really good to meet different ministers and speakers from different cultures. As we know, the African Americans have a certain style, and we get to a point where you think, oh, how's the next speaker going to top that? Sure enough, some young lady came up, quiet, unassuming, but she was authentic and the message came through beautifully. It really was. I was a little bit nervous before I went up, but I thought, oh, well, here goes, there's no hiding. And there's filming all around, and I just said to them, look, excuse me, I represent Australia. I told them all I'll be wearing a tie and a jacket. I'm not, so any filming has to be from here up. But we thought that was funny. Then I had to respond to the fact that I came from down under. Well, I just said, it's just your viewpoint. I said, we turn the map upside down and we get on with life. And they got the perspective of that. And our humour is different. Accent is different. And I said to them, if you think I speak funny, you should hear some of the people from the outback. And it was interesting to hear their accents. The first one I went to was the International Youth Thought Alliance, which was in Phoenix. And very, very hot, as you can imagine. But here again, something for everyone. The organisation isn't as big as it was, because there are rival organisations now, and this organisation is now 101. And I think new energy is needed for that. So we'll see where that goes. The other seminar I went to was in Fort Lauderdale, which was at the Metropolitan Community Church. My goodness, what an eclectic mix of people. The minister was an ordained Metropolitan Community Church minister, a divine science minister, there was a licensed unity teacher there, and there was a sub-minister from someone else. Everyone, all over the place. It was wonderful to see. Big, it's called the Sunshine Cathedral. So I can say I have spoken in a cathedral. And the music was wonderful. They had a choir of 20 people. There was a pipe organ, grand piano, and the room up the back was about as big as this stage for the sound system. I had a team of people for that. So it was a luxurious experience. And I did enjoy speaking there. The lectern was a different sort of shape to this. So I was able to put my notes here, do a few things. There was a clock right down the back, but it was one of those digital things which I don't like. And to be honest, I had half an hour to speak. I got chatting away. I thought, my goodness, I can't see the clock. So I was talking about thoughts have wings. It's a talk I did here. It took on a different flavour over there. And we're talking about thoughts and how thoughts have wings, and are we angels or demons with our thoughts? Referring to the Dan Brown model. And then I realised I must be getting close to time. So I looked up and I couldn't see it. So I said, where am I? You have 5 minutes to go. So I thought, I'm on page 3, I better turn to page 5. So I said, well, you've missed out on the giant thought form I couldn't control that took over my life. They said, tell us. I said, no, you'll have to wait till next time. And so we had a lot of fun. Everyone had something different to say. And they said it eloquently and in their own authentic way, which I found so refreshing. There was an ordination there of 2 young Mexican girls who became divine science ministers. And Reverend Durrell is the minister there. He likes the flowing robes and things like that. He's a very theatrical man. And the time came for the anointing. I've got a photograph I had to send back to these 2 young girls, Spanish-speaking girls, and he couldn't find the oil. So he said to the lady up front, "Have you got any lipstick?" She said, "Yes." So he anointed them with lipstick. But the reverence was there. You know, what does it matter what he anointed them with? Everyone was laughing and happy. And these 2 young girls, that was their first day there. And I happened to be there the next day when they had to officiate at the service. A little bit nervous, I know the feeling, but they did a wonderful job. Okay, the sense of humour is different, as I said. In Miami, where I stayed, I think it was 3 weeks ago, I was in Miami Beach, swimming in the ocean. And it's rather ironic, you know, because we probably think more of it, but it's a way of life over there with guns and things. Orlando's 2 hours away. Yet while I'm sitting there on my chair with the beach umbrella and a free bottle of water, if you pay $20, it's not like going down the beach here. Every bits of beach are claimed, it seems to be. So, and I'm sitting back there, and you know these planes that fly over, sort of talk about pizzas for whatever it is, and then one came over and said, "Come to our shooting school and learn how to fire well." I couldn't believe it. With all that was going on, here they are. And in the brochures, looking around Miami, come and give your children a firearm experience safely. So life goes on. It's the culture. Whereas I was quite shocked by it, no one else was terribly concerned, or the people I spoke to. But in Miami, I sort of did what I had to do, came back from the beach, and I lost my keys to get into the room. So I say to the young lady, I said, "Look, I've lost my keys." And she said, "What's your room number?" I said, 511. I said, "Oh, I know that in Spanish, cinco una una." And she corrected me. But anyway, I managed to get a little bit of Spanish done. And I was amazed that 90% of the people there spoke Spanish as a normal language. As I got into a taxi to move up to Fort Lauderdale, which was longer than I thought and more expensive than I thought, but I just wanted to get there, the taxi driver said, "You know, what's your accent?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from Australia." For some reason, he thought I was Scottish. Isn't that funny? I've been out here since the age of 3. I really couldn't have any Scottish traits at all. But there again, I don't speak like Paul Hogan, so they probably think I'm more of an English accent. Anyway, I said, "Look, I've learned a bit of Spanish." And he said, "Oh, okay." And he'd go, "Blah, blah, blah." Of course, I couldn't understand a thing. I said, "You'll have to slow down." I said, "I managed to tell the young lady on the hotel desk my room number in Spanish." He very naughty said, "Very naughty." That wasn't what I meant. Okay. So, there's different cultures, but you know, we take ourselves with us wherever we go, and that's the thing. I think Emerson was one of the ones that said that. Wherever we go, we take ourselves with us. Some of the things I heard at these seminars are the fuel for future talks. I'll only mention the topics, and we can think about them as the weeks go on. Environmental versus environment versus involvement. How one can work with the other. Personal to communal. Now, you know the old-fashioned way when we used to read the books down there, we had enough affirmation. Quite often I read about this New Thought writer who said, "Oh, look, I had a private jet take me to Las Vegas. There we landed at the airport, the helicopter took us to the hotel, we descended down the staircase, there was a grand piano and there was an audience, and I walked in, and I thought, well, that's the holiday's opulence, yes. Nothing wrong with that. But I think the world has changed a little bit. We have to affirm not only for us, but for those around us as well. This is where, once we get organised here, we can be a help to people with that. Another one, which is worth thinking about, is beingness versus doingness. It reminds me of that song the Beatles had, The Fool on the Hill. We can sit there in bliss, but if we're not doing anything, have other people do it for us, well, maybe it's time to move on, but we are here to express and move and put into practice what we are revealed to us spiritually. And also, another person noticed that many people want to go to services to be entertained, not healed or informed. There was a little discussion on that. So I'll discuss that with you as we go on. And a final one. We're talking about the metaphysical names in the Bible and things like that, and someone said the word Satan. Well, as we know, when Jesus was up on the mountain, he battled against the devil. He said, "Get behind me, Satan," but it was really his own power, which could be used for good or not so good. And someone said they call Satan a testing angel in the court of God. Another one. Now, what did I see? Well, the plane trips were pretty rugged. I can't really complain, but the security was a bit of a shock. It really has beefed up. And Los Angeles was one of the worst I've experienced. I remember going through my stuff, and there they are, the security lanes there, and they look quite reasonable. I thought, well, how can I get that job? Because there's a great big 6-foot African-American man. Huge. I thought, okay, here we go. In front of me was a little Asian family, about this high, mother and father, and 2 little kids. And they approached. The little boy was hiding behind his father. But the man could see, the security man could see. He reached out and says, "Hello, little fella, you're in charge here." And it just broke the ice. It really did. Then I thought of the people that do these jobs. We always think it's nice to be, say, a chaplain, sort of feed the poor, all that sort of stuff. But these are people that are keeping society in order. And you think, well, that's pretty spiritual too, at this point in time. The plane was delayed in Denver, so we all had to get out. I missed my connections back home. So I was sent to this place with 300 other people on the plane that was supposed to be going, waiting for 2, almost 3 hours to find out what was going to happen next, which meant instead of coming home from Los Angeles to Melbourne, I had to go to Auckland. And I said to the lady, "That's another country." But she said, "That's all there is." I said, "Well, it'll do." So I enjoyed myself. I was put up at the Hilton for another night in Denver, and it was a nice, easy day because it was checkout time was late. So we get there, and the plane is delayed. So here we are, all lined up, and there's people think, "I'm going to sue these people in this airline," and the agitation was growing. And there were about 6 or 7 young people trying to do their best for people in the queue. One at a time, that's all they could do. Anyway, 2 American ladies come along in their uniforms and just stand by these people that are, complaining, and it all quietened down. I thought, well, thank you. There was an art in that. It just calmed everyone down. And as we rode off into the sunset, I thought, well, this is good. We've got free food vouchers, free hotel, free shuttle bus, and it worked out well. But I had to be alert and aware. It was disorientating, I have to say, because I was carting around my normal suitcase, but a bag full of books, which were like bricks. And I managed to get through the day, but I collapsed into the hotel, I can tell you. It was quite a trip. Now, there is a message here. In our search for spiritual enlightenment, which I suppose it was a spiritual trip for me, I got a lot of wisdom out of it, and a lot of confidence in some areas too. But some people feel they have to go to sacred sites to gain enlightenment. They have to walk the El Camino in Spain. They have to walk the Andes Trail. They have to go to this convent, go around Mecca every 5 years or whatever it is. And we realise, of course, that every step is holding ground. We don't have to go over. So I link this in with something I found yesterday. In the Tao Te Ching, without stirring abroad, one can know the whole world. Without looking through the window, one can see the way of heaven. The further one goes, the less one knows. Therefore, the sage knows without having to stir, identifies without having to see, and accomplishes without having to act. And I thought, well, that's all right for the sage, but none of us is a sage yet. It's a work in progress. As Ernest Holmes says, we don't come fully orbed. And if we stay still, we don't grow, we get out, like that ship. We have to be out at sea. Maybe then we can be like that sage on the hill. So, not only do we search for our experiences locally, interstate, on the continent and worldwide, we have that inner journey. Some call it the far country. Some call it the road less travelled. Here's another Beatles song. My goodness, they wrote some good stuff. The long and winding road that leads to your heart. So in our learning to handle this creative God power in us, we can be led along different paths which aren't necessarily in the right direction. And we do things and sometimes we look back and think, my God, what a mess I got into. How do I get out of this? And there's only one way, and that is to surrender and move on. And in the process, we all know the story of the prodigal son who got as low as he could go and said, stop, help, where do I go? But that inner voice, which was always there, had a chance to get through all that and say, come home. So, sometimes to do that we have to surrender where we are, people we're with and what we're doing. Some things surrender, the violins start and we'll be carried away into bliss and say, welcome back, my child. All is well. There again, it may not be. It could cause the biggest upheavals we've ever had in our lives and shake us even more. Then, we really do mean that we have surrendered. I was reading a book called The Explorers of the Infinite. And I forgot I had, but it talks about these people, the great sportsmen, because we've got the Olympics on at the moment. And not that I've been a big follower this year, but I do like to see who's getting what and some of those wonderful medals that Australia's getting. It talks about explorers, especially up the mountains and at sea. Now, there's a place in Mount Everest that's very, very dangerous. In the old days, not so much now. And explorers would say they got there. One man said, my goodness, he was covered by an avalanche. And he said, there was someone in front of him that said, just keep moving, do this, if it's not far up, you'll get out. And he described the person, and he managed to get out. But no one had heard of that person. And others have said there's a woman that appears to people on this mountain if you get into trouble. And that's been independently talked about with different people. Now, we know the power of the mind, and we know the power of thoughts. And I think I mentioned before, can thoughts survive our physical body and the world? Well, some people think they can. Whatever it is, these people were guided by that inner voice. And out in the sea, we have people, famous people that have been yachting around the world, got lost, his yacht was just drifting, no water, he was hallucinating, and of course he saw someone from the ship of Columbus saying, leave it to me, paraphrasing here, and he woke up a couple of hours later, calm sea, and there was an island in front of him. So isn't it good to know we are comforted wherever we are around the world? Doesn't matter where we are, if we learn to move in to our inner self. I'm still in the process of reading that book, and as we know, sometimes people that do marathon runs and things like that, they get to a point where they can't run, they keep going, and all of a sudden the second wind comes. I think our Creator is so magnificent. People say yes, but it's endorphins, it's whatever. Who designed them? Isn't it amazing? And it's there for us. Thank you, God. I came across a mysterious parchment. It was in a book overseas, and I don't know who did it or whatever it did. So I managed to photocopy it over there. Had nothing to do with the book, but it said, okay, Robin, we'll have a look. Rules for being human. This is what I found overseas, nothing we don't know here. You will receive a body. You will learn lessons. There are no mistakes, only lessons, and a lesson is repeated until it's learnt. It'll be repeated in various ways. We think we've learnt it, but something will come up, and we'll go through it again until we get it right. And learning lessons does not end. Makes me tired thinking about it. And there is no part of life which doesn't contain a lesson. We are alive, and there are lessons to be learned. And the next slide. There is no better than here. When your there has become a here, you will simply obtain another there that will again look better than here. I know when I left my hometown in Penguin, quaint to think about it now, I missed Penguin. So I came over here and didn't go back very much. But last time I was back, after I think it was 30 years, I'd only been twice before that, I looked at it and it seemed very small. I thought, will I buy a house here? Will I live here? I thought, I put it out of my mind. So now I'm over here and I realise my hometown is a state of mind. Do you know what I mean? Where we were once, it's not the same. My little hometown, which was right by the sea, has now got a shopping mall. It's got, houses everywhere up on the hills, those big mansions, and it's just not the same. What I carry with me is a state of mind which I have wherever I am. It's a wonderful state of mind, and I thank you to my parents for finding that little hideaway. When I'm asked overseas, where is it? I say, I don't want anyone to know. I want to keep it secret, because there's nothing secret. I've done that one. Others are merely mirrors of us. It's a worry, isn't it? You cannot love or hate something about another person unless it reflects to you something you love or hate about ourselves. Now, here's the big one. What you make your life is up to you. We have all the tools and resources we need. What we do with them is up to us, the choice is ours. And that gets back to the other thing I was talking about, affirmations. It's all right to affirm for ourselves, but we must now affirm to others. And in this place here, we have some special truths, universal truths which can help anyone. If they've got that chance, so much the better for their life. Big one here, your answers lie within you. All we need to do is look, listen and trust. It's a pity we really have to throw ourselves around before this wisdom gets to us. And it is wisdom. And finally, you will forget all this. In the throes of life, we forget. You think, oh, I give up. What a mess. So I found that little bit of paper very, very interesting. Rules for being human. So I put underneath, we can forget the Tao Te Ching, can't forget them, but this has simplified it. Got the Bible, the Upanishads, and the Kimbalia, which is a new one, which people are just discovering over there. We knew all about, you knew about the Kimbalia, didn't you, Sylvia? Does anyone else know the Kimbalia? Yes, it's there. I had a look at it the other day. I thought, oh, this will do. This bit of paper. Okay, now it's summing up. There's an old hymn. I get into trouble here when I talk about hymns. But there's one called Work, for the Night is Coming. This life is the time. This is what we've got. We've got a spiritual body. Another saying. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. So if we're not looking after our physical body, we're not being spiritual. And there's a bit of a discussion on that, which is quite lively. This life is the time, as I said. We make the most of our time here. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So, to finish, no matter where I roam, Bob's not going to sing this, I still call Australia home, but further on, I still call where I am home. No matter where I roam, I still call where I am home. Thank you. Okay, now of course I lost the rowing sheet, but here we go. I've got some postcards here. Well, these are from Key West, so I'll just leave them sitting over here if anyone would like to see them later. Bit of a great journey.